My cousin drugged me at my own graduation. But the hospital confirmed it. I woke up in a hospital bed with my cap and gown folded neatly on the visitor's chair, and absolutely no memory of how I got there. The last thing I remembered was Maya, my cousin, handing me a celebratory mimosa at my graduation party. To the family genius, she'd said with that bright smile of hers, clinking her glass against mine. Now there was an 4 in my arm, my head felt like it had been split open with an axe, and my mom was crying in the corner. "Thank God you're awake," Mom whispered, rushing to my bedside. "We were so scared, honey. You just collapsed. Right there in front of everyone." What happened? My mouth felt like I'd been chewing cotton for hours. The afternoon sunlight streaming through the hospital window was way too bright. I feel like garbage. Dad appeared in the doorway, his face grim. "The doctors ran some tests, sweetheart. We're waiting for results, but they think someone might have put something in your drink." Put something in my drink? I sat up too quickly and immediately regretted it as the room spun. Like what? Who would do that? "We don't know yet," Mom said, smoothing my hair back. "The toxicology report should be ready soon. Dr. Martinez said you had symptoms consistent with." She paused, struggling with the words, "with being given something without your knowledge." The memories started trickling back in fragments. I remembered feeling perfectly fine during the ceremony at 2 p.m., walking across that stage, shaking Dean Peterson's hand as he handed me my diploma. Summa cum laude. 4 years of killing myself with double majors in biochemistry and pre-med, and I'd finally done it. The party afterward had been Mom's idea, just family and close friends in our backyard. Maybe 30 people total. I remembered feeling proud, accomplished, ready to start medical school in the fall. I'd had exactly one mimosa, the one Maya gave me, because I wanted to stay sharp for all the conversations with relatives asking about my plans. But then things got fuzzy. Really fuzzy. I remembered feeling dizzy around 4:30, telling my roommate Jessica that something was wrong. The last clear memory I had was stumbling toward the house, my vision going double, and Maya asking if I was okay with what seemed like genuine concern. "How long was I out?" I asked. "About 6 hours," Dad said. "You collapsed around 5 p.m. Maya actually rode with us in the ambulance, she was so worried about you." Of course she was. Maya had always been the family's golden child, even after she dropped out of state 3 years ago. Beautiful, charming Maya who could do no wrong in anyone's eyes. Maya who'd been increasingly weird around me lately, making little comments about how some people get all the luck and how not everyone needs to be a doctor to be successful. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Dr. Martinez entered with a clipboard and a serious expression. "Good, you're awake. I have your test results." She pulled up a chair. "I need to ask you directly, did you knowingly take any substances today? Any medications, recreational substances, anything at all?" "No, nothing. I don't even drink usually. Just that one mimosa at my party." Dr. Martinez nodded grimly. "That's what I expected you'd say. Your toxicology screen came back positive for flunitrazepam. It's a powerful sedative that's tasteless and odorless when dissolved in liquid." The room went dead silent. Mom's face went white. "Someone definitely drugged you," the doctor continued. "And given the amount in your system, this could have been much worse. You're lucky your family got you here when they did." The word hit me like a physical blow. Flunitrazepam. Even through my foggy brain, I knew what that was from my pharmacology courses. Rohypnol. The date rape drug. Someone tried to. I couldn't finish the sentence. My hands started shaking. "We don't know their intent," Dr. Martinez said carefully. "But yes, that's a substance commonly used to incapacitate people. The dose you received was significant, about 2 milligrams. That's enough to cause complete memory loss and render someone unconscious for hours." Dad's face had gone from worried to furious. "Who had access to her drink?" "We need to call the police right now." "Already done," Dr. Martinez said. "Hospital protocol requires us to report suspected poisoning cases. Detective Rodriguez should be here within the hour to take your statement." My mind was racing, trying to piece together the timeline. Maya had handed me that drink around 3:30 p.m., about 30 minutes after we'd gotten back from the ceremony. I remembered taking a few sips, then setting it down on the patio table while I talked to Aunt Linda about medical school applications. But I'd gone back to it several times over the next hour. "Maya made that mimosa for me," I said slowly. "She insisted, actually. Said she wanted to make it special since I was the first person in our family to graduate college." Mom and Dad exchanged glances. I could see the wheels turning in their heads, but also the resistance. Maya was Mom's sister's daughter, practically raised in our house after her parents' messy divorce when she was 16. She'd lived with us for 2 years during high school, and Mom treated her like a second daughter. "Honey, I'm sure Maya didn't." Mom started. "Mom, someone put this stuff in my drink." The doctor just confirmed it. "Maya was the only person who handled it before me." "But Maya was the one who noticed you were in trouble," Dad said, though he sounded less certain now. "She's the one who called us over when you started stumbling." That detail had been bothering me too. Why would Maya call attention to my condition if she'd caused it? Unless that was exactly the point. What better way to look innocent than to be the concerned cousin who discovered the problem? I thought back to Maya's behavior over the past few months. The snide comments about my perfect life had definitely increased. Last month, when I'd gotten accepted to 3 medical schools, she congratulated me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Must be nice to have everything handed to you," she'd said. When I pointed out that I'd worked my ass off for 4 years, she'd laughed it off as a joke. Then there was the incident 2 weeks ago. I'd found Maya in my room, going through my desk drawers. She claimed she was looking for a phone charger, but my acceptance letters were scattered across my desk afterward, and I could swear one was missing. When I asked her about it, she got defensive and stormed out. "There's something else," I told my parents. "Maya's been acting strange around me lately. Making comments about my success, going through my things. You think your own cousin would poison you out of jealousy?" Mom's voice was incredulous. That's a very serious accusation. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with notifications. Text after text. Jessica was messaging me frantically. Asterisk OMG, are you okay? Maya just posted on Instagram about praying for your recovery and how what goes around comes around, and some weird stuff about karma asterisk. She deleted it, but I screenshot it. This is really weird timing. My blood ran cold. What kind of person posts cryptic messages about karma right after their cousin gets hospitalized? The kind of person who knew exactly why I was there. Show me the screenshot, I said, my hand still trembling as I took the phone from Jessica's text. There it was, Maya's Instagram story from just 45 minutes ago. A black background with white text that read, "Sometimes the universe has a way of humbling people who think they're better than everyone else. Praying for my cousin, but also. Karma is real, folded hand sparkles, hashtag blessed, hashtag family first, hashtag truth wins." The post had been up for less than 10 minutes before she deleted it, but Jessica had been quick with the screenshot. My stomach dropped as I read it again. Who posts something like that about their hospitalized family member? Let me see, Dad said, taking my phone. His expression darkened as he read. Mom peered over his shoulder, and I watched her face change from defensive to confused to something that looked like dawning horror. This doesn't sound like someone who's worried about you, Mom whispered. This sounds like someone who thinks you deserve this. Before anyone could respond, Detective Rodriguez appeared in the doorway, a middle-aged Latina woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to speak with the patient about what happened today. As I recounted the timeline for the detective, more details kept surfacing. Maya had been insistent about making the drink herself, even though Dad had already set up a whole mimosa station on the patio. She'd gone into the house alone to find the good champagne flutes and been gone for almost 10 minutes. When she came back, she'd made a big show of the toast, making sure everyone was watching. And you said she rode in the ambulance with you? Detective Rodriguez asked my parents. Yes, she seemed genuinely concerned, Dad replied, though his tone was more uncertain now. That's actually not uncommon, the detective said. Perpetrators often insert themselves into the rescue situation. It serves two purposes, makes them look innocent and gives them control over the narrative of what happened. She showed me a photo on her tablet. Do you recognize this? It was a small glass vial, the kind used for essential oils or medical samples. My blood ran cold. I'd seen one just like it recently. Maya had something like this, I said slowly. Last week when she was staying over. She said it was some herbal sleep remedy she'd ordered online. Said her therapist recommended it for her insomnia. Detective Rodriguez made a note. We'll need to test that if we can locate it. In the meantime, I need you to think carefully, has Maya had access to substances like this? Any medical connections, pharmacy work, anything like that? That's when it hit me. Her ex-boyfriend, Tyler. He's a pharmacy tech at Walgreens. They broke up like 6 months ago, but Maya mentioned running into him recently. She was bragging about how he was still hung up on her and would do anything to get back in her good graces. The detective's eyebrows raised. Tyler what? Tyler Brennan. He works at the Walgreens on Maple Street. I was remembering more now. Maya had posted a selfie with him on her Snapchat story last week. Something about catching up with old friends. But she deleted that too. Mom sank into her chair. Oh my God. You really think Maya could have planned this? My phone buzzed again. This time it was my cousin Jake, Maya's older brother, texting our family group chat, asterisk, anyone know why Maya just asked me to delete old photos of her and Tyler from Facebook? Said she's trying to move forward, but it seemed urgent. Asterisk. The room fell silent. Detective Rodriguez looked up from her notes. I think we need to have a conversation with Maya, she said grimly. And this Tyler Brennan. How quickly can you get your cousin back here? She's in the waiting room, Dad said quietly. Has been this whole time, asking to see you every 20 minutes. Said she's been praying for your recovery. The irony was suffocating. Bring her in, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. But I want to record this conversation. Detective Rodriguez nodded. Actually, that's perfect. Minnesota is a one-party consent state, so you're legally allowed to record without telling her. She handed me a small device. This is better quality than your phone. Just press the button when she walks in. My heart was pounding as Dad went to get Maya. I had about 2 minutes to prepare for what might be the most important conversation of my life. Mom squeezed my hand, her face pale but determined. I can't believe I'm saying this, but if Maya did this to you. She couldn't finish the sentence. Maya walked in looking like the picture of concerned family. Her eyes were red-rimmed like she'd been crying, her usually perfect hair was messy, and she immediately rushed to my bedside. Oh, thank God you're awake. She threw her arms around me, and I had to fight every instinct not to recoil. I was so scared. When you just collapsed like that. I thought I was going to lose you. I pressed the recording button behind my back. Thanks for staying, Maya. That means a lot. Of course. You're like a sister to me. She settled into the chair next to my bed, positioning herself between me and Detective Rodriguez. Have the doctors figured out what happened? Some kind of allergic reaction maybe? The detective stepped forward. Actually, we have determined what happened. Someone put flunitrazepam in her drink. About 2 milligrams worth. I watched Maya's face carefully. For just a split second, maybe half a heartbeat, her expression shifted. It wasn't surprise. It was calculation. Like she was deciding how to react. Oh my God, that's horrible. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. Someone drugged you. At your own graduation party. Who would do something like that? That's what we're trying to figure out, Detective Rodriguez said. You made her drink, correct? Well, yes, but... Maya's voice got defensive. I just wanted to do something special for her big day. I used the champagne from the kitchen and orange juice from the fridge. That's it. You were gone for about 10 minutes to get the glasses, I said, keeping my tone neutral. That's a long time to find champagne flutes. I wanted the really nice ones from the china cabinet. You know how mom keeps those locked up. Maya laughed, but it sounded forced. I had to find the key and everything. I wanted your toast to be perfect. That was a lie. Mom never locked the china cabinet. Those glasses sat on an open shelf in the dining room. Maya, Detective Rodriguez continued, we understand you've been in contact recently with Tyler Brennan, who works at a pharmacy. The color drained from Maya's face. Tyler? What does he have to do with anything? We just ran into each other at Starbucks last week. Just a coincidence then that you asked your brother to delete photos of you and Tyler from social media this afternoon. Maya's eyes darted between the detective and me. I'm trying to move on with my life. Those old photos were just depressing reminders. Move on from what? I asked. You told me last week that Tyler was still hung up on you. That he'd do anything to get back in your good graces. I never said that. But Maya's voice cracked slightly. Actually, you did. You said it right here in this room on Wednesday when you brought me lunch. You were bragging about how much control you had over him. That was a test. Maya hadn't brought me lunch on Wednesday, she'd been at work. But guilty people often have trouble keeping their lies straight. You're confused, Maya said quickly. You're probably still foggy from whatever someone gave you. I brought you lunch on Tuesday, not Wednesday. Detective Rodriguez and I exchanged glances. Maya had just confirmed she brought me lunch, which meant she'd been in my apartment recently. More opportunities for access. Maya, can you tell me about the small glass vial you had last week? The herbal sleep remedy. Her whole body went rigid. What vial? I don't know what you're talking about. You showed it to me when you stayed over on Friday night. Said your therapist recommended it for insomnia. I think you're mixing me up with someone else, Maya said, but she was fidgeting now, pulling at her sleeves. I don't have any sleep problems. Another lie. Maya had been posting on her Instagram stories for months about her insomnia, asking for recommendations for natural sleep aids. I'd seen at least a dozen posts about it. What about your Instagram story from this afternoon? I pulled up Jessica's screenshot. The one about karma and people being humbled. Maya's eyes went wide when she saw the screenshot. That wasn't about you. I post inspirational quotes all the time. Sometimes the universe has a way of humbling people who think they're better than everyone else, I read aloud. You posted this 2 hours after I was hospitalized. What exactly was the universe humbling me for, Maya? I didn't. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was upset and scared. Maya stood up abruptly. This is crazy. You're my family. I would never hurt you. Then help us figure out who did, Detective Rodriguez said calmly. Because someone definitely did this to her. Someone with access to pharmaceutical-grade sedatives and opportunity to tamper with her drink. Maya looked trapped, her eyes darting toward the door. I think I should call my mom. Or maybe a lawyer. The words hung in the air like a confession. Innocent people don't immediately ask for lawyers when their cousin gets poisoned. Unless they know exactly why they might need one. Why would you need a lawyer, Maya? I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Unless there's something you're not telling us. Maya's face went through a series of expressions, panic, calculation, then forced calm. I watch a lot of crime shows. They always say to get a lawyer when police start asking questions. Detective Rodriguez stepped closer. Maya, we're going to need to search your belongings and your car. We can do this with your cooperation, or we can get a warrant. Which would you prefer? My car. Why would you need to search my car? Maya's voice pitched higher. I told you, I didn't do anything wrong. Because that's where people usually dispose of evidence, the detective replied matter-of-factly. Empty vials, for instance. Or maybe text messages with pharmacy techs about acquiring substances. Maya's phone, which she'd been clutching since she walked in, suddenly seemed to burn in her hands. She shoved it into her purse quickly, but not quickly enough for Detective Rodriguez to miss the gesture. Actually, let's start with the phone, the detective said. I'd like to see your text messages from the past week. That's private, Maya said, backing toward the door. You can't just look through my personal stuff without a warrant. You're right, I can't force you, Detective Rodriguez agreed. But your refusal to cooperate is certainly interesting, given that your cousin is lying here after being poisoned at her own graduation party. My phone buzzed with another text from Jessica, Maya's been posting and deleting stuff all day. I got more screenshots. She posted something at 2:47 p.m. about finally teaching someone a lesson, then deleted it 3 minutes later. I showed the message to Detective Rodriguez, who immediately pulled out her own phone. I'm calling for a warrant now. Maya, I strongly advise you not to leave the building. You can't keep me here. Maya's composure was cracking completely now. I haven't been arrested. No, but you're about to be, the detective replied, already dialing. Judge Morrison. This is Detective Rodriguez. I need an emergency warrant for electronic devices and vehicle search. Maya made a break for the door, but Dad was blocking it. Maya, what the hell is going on? If you didn't do this, why are you running? Because they're trying to pin this on me. Maya's voice was shrill now. Just because I'm not the perfect golden child like her doesn't mean I'm a criminal. There it was. The resentment she'd been hiding behind fake smiles and congratulations. Golden child. Mom stepped forward, her voice sharp. Maya, we've treated you like our own daughter since you were 16. Right, the daughter who wasn't good enough to finish college. The daughter who works retail while Princess here gets to be a doctor. Maya's mask was completely off now. Do you know what it's like watching everyone worship her for years? Maya, why can't you be more like your cousin? Maya, look how successful she is. Maya, maybe you should try harder. My heart sank. I'd never realized how deep her resentment ran, but it didn't excuse what she'd done to me. So you decided to drug me? I asked. On the biggest day of my life. Maya's eyes filled with tears, but they looked more like tears of frustration than remorse. I just wanted. I wanted you to know what it felt like to have your big moment ruined. To have everyone looking at you with pity instead of pride. Detective Rodriguez lowered her phone. Maya Castellanos, you're under arrest for assault in the first degree and reckless endangerment. You have the right to remain silent. As the detective read Maya her rights, my cousin looked at me with something that wasn't quite hatred but wasn't far from it. 2 milligrams could have killed me, Maya, I said quietly. Did you even think about that? Tyler said it would just make you sick, she whispered as Detective Rodriguez cuffed her. He said you'd just throw up and feel awful for a day. Even in her confession, she was trying to minimize what she'd done. But I had it all on recording now. The truth was finally coming out. As Detective Rodriguez led Maya away in handcuffs, I thought the worst was over. But 20 minutes later, Tyler Brennan walked into my hospital room flanked by 2 uniformed officers, and I realized this was just the beginning. Is this the patient? Tyler asked, like I was some kind of lab specimen. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 24, with nervous eyes and hands that wouldn't stop fidgeting. Maya said you'd probably try to blame us for your eating disorder. Detective Rodriguez stepped forward. Mr. Brennan, you're here to answer questions, not make statements about the victim. Victim? Tyler laughed, but it sounded forced. Maya told me her cousin has been struggling with bulimia for years. Said the family was in denial about it. She was worried about her. My mouth fell open. What? I don't have an eating disorder. Maya drugged my drink with flunitrazepam, she already confessed. She confessed to trying to help you, Tyler said, pulling out his phone. Look, she's been texting me about your episodes for weeks. She was scared you were going to hurt yourself. He showed the detective his screen, and my blood ran cold. There were dozens of messages from Maya's number, dating back almost a month. Asterisk, really worried about my cousin. Caught her throwing up again after dinner. Asterisk. Asterisk, she's gotten so thin. Family won't listen when I try to tell them. Asterisk. Asterisk, found laxatives hidden in her room. I think she's getting worse. Asterisk. Asterisk, she's graduating soon and the pressure is making everything worse. Ick, what to do? Asterisk. This is insane, I said, my voice shaking. Maya made all of this up. I've never had an eating disorder. But Tyler was still scrolling, showing more messages. Asterisk, she passed out at dinner last night. Parents think she's just stressed about medical school. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'm scared she's going to seriously hurt herself. Can you help me figure out what she might be taking? Maybe if I knew, I could get her parents to intervene. Asterisk. Detective Rodriguez studied the messages carefully. These texts show Maya asking about substances that could cause fainting and nausea. Mr. Brennan, did you provide her with information about flunitrazepam? I thought she wanted to know so she could help. Tyler's voice cracked. Maya said her cousin was probably taking something dangerous, and if she could figure out what it was, she could prove to the family that there was a real problem. My head was spinning. Maya had been building this narrative for weeks, creating a paper trail that made her look like a concerned family member trying to save her self-destructive cousin. She asked me what would happen if someone took a small amount of flunitrazepam, Tyler continued. Said maybe if her cousin had a supervised medical episode, the family would finally take her eating disorder seriously. So you gave her access to hospital-grade sedatives? Detective Rodriguez's tone was sharp. I gave her information, Tyler said defensively. She said she was going to put just a tiny bit in her cousin's drink at graduation, enough to make her feel sick so the family would finally get her help. 2 milligrams isn't a tiny bit, I said, struggling to keep my voice level. That's enough to cause respiratory failure. Tyler's face went white. 2 milligrams. Maya said she was only going to use like, a few drops. She said you'd just feel nauseous and maybe throw up. Detective Rodriguez was taking notes rapidly. Mr. Brennan, did you physically provide Maya with flunitrazepam? No. I would never. I just told her about dosages and effects. Educational purposes. But his voice was getting smaller. She said she'd figured out another way to get it. What other way? Tyler's hands were shaking now. She said she'd found some in her cousin's room. Said it proved that her cousin was already using dangerous stuff. The room went dead silent. Maya had planted evidence in my room to justify poisoning me. Mr. Brennan, Detective Rodriguez continued, do you have any evidence that this patient has an eating disorder or substance abuse problem? Maya sent me photos, Tyler said, frantically scrolling through his phone. Look, this is from last week. He showed us a photo that made my stomach drop. It was my bathroom trash can, but it had been staged. There were empty laxative boxes visible on top, along with what looked like diet pill packaging. Maya took this in my apartment, I realized. But I've never bought any of that stuff. She must have brought it with her and planted it. Mom grabbed my hand. Maya had your spare key. She's been going to your place to check on things while you were studying for finals. The scope of Maya's manipulation was staggering. She'd spent weeks building a false narrative, planting evidence, and manipulating Tyler into giving her the information she needed to poison me. Tyler, Detective Rodriguez said carefully, Maya told you that a small amount of flunitrazepam would just make someone nauseous. She said maybe half a milligram. Just enough to make her cousin feel sick so the family would intervene. Tyler was crying now. I never thought she'd use more than that. I thought she was trying to save her. But you did provide specific information about acquiring and using a controlled substance. Tyler nodded miserably. I looked up the effects and dosages for her. I even told her that it was tasteless in orange juice. He looked up at me with horror in his eyes. Oh God. She really tried to hurt you, didn't she? Before I could answer, Detective Rodriguez's phone rang. After a brief conversation, she hung up with a grim expression. That was the team searching Maya's car, she said. They found an empty vial under her seat, along with a notebook detailing your daily routine for the past 3 weeks. Times you left your apartment, when you were alone, what you typically ate and drank. Maya hadn't just poisoned me on impulse. She'd been planning this for almost a month. The notebook Detective Rodriguez described arrived 20 minutes later, sealed in an evidence bag. Through the clear plastic, I could see Maya's familiar handwriting filling page after page with meticulous observations about my life. Jesus Christ, Dad whispered as the detective flipped through it. The entries were dated going back 3 weeks. Asterisk March 15th, leaves apartment 7:30 a.m. for library. Returns 6:45 p.m. with Chinese takeout. Always gets extra fortune cookies, asterisk March 18th, grocery shopping Sundays at 2 p.m. Buys same orange juice brand every time, Tropicana with pulp, asterisk March 22nd, studies at coffee shop on campus until 4 p.m. Drinks large iced coffee, no cream, asterisk. She was stalking me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. 4 weeks. Detective Rodriguez pointed to an entry from 5 days ago. Asterisk March 28th, graduation party planning. Mom mentioned mimosas. Perfect opportunity, orange juice will mask any taste. Need to volunteer to make drinks, asterisk. My skin crawled. Maya had been sitting at our family dinner that night, smiling and asking what she could do to help with the party, all while planning to poison me. There's more, the detective said, flipping to a page titled Backup Plans. Look at this. Maya had written out 3 different scenarios. Plan A was the mimosa at graduation. Plan B involved tampering with my coffee at the campus Starbucks. Plan C was something called Celebration Dinner Intervention scheduled for the following weekend. She wasn't going to stop, Mom said, her face pale as paper. If the graduation thing hadn't worked, she would have kept trying. Tyler Brennan was staring at the notebook like he'd seen a ghost. She told me this was about one intervention. One time to get her cousin help. She said after that, she'd convinced the family to stage a proper intervention. Tyler, Detective Rodriguez said, look at Plan C. What does that look like to you? He read the entry aloud, his voice shaking. Asterisk celebration dinner at Romano's, family tradition. Parents will order wine. Could slip something into water glass when she goes to bathroom. Smaller dose this time, just enough to cause scene in public. More witnesses equals more credibility, asterisk. That's not intervention, I said, anger finally breaking through my shock. That's systematic poisoning. The detective's radio crackled. Rodriguez, we need you at the station. The suspect is asking to make a statement. Maya wanted to talk. Part of me desperately needed to hear what she had to say, but another part of me never wanted to see her again. Can I listen? I asked. When she gives her statement. You can watch through one-way glass, Detective Rodriguez confirmed. But I should warn you, suspects often try to minimize their actions or shift blame. Are you prepared for that? I thought about the notebook full of surveillance notes, the planted evidence in my apartment, the weeks of manipulation she put Tyler through. Maya had constructed an elaborate plan to destroy me, and she'd almost succeeded. I need to hear it, I said. I need to understand why. 2 hours later, I was sitting in a small observation room at the police station, watching Maya through bulletproof glass. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without her usual confidence. Her hands were cuffed to the table, and she kept glancing at the door like she was planning another escape. Detective Rodriguez entered the interrogation room with a thick file and the evidence bag containing Maya's surveillance notebook. Maya, you said you wanted to make a statement about what happened today. Maya straightened up, and for a moment I saw a flash of her old manipulative charm. I want everyone to understand that I was trying to help my cousin. She's been struggling with serious issues, and my family refuses to see it. Even now, even with all the evidence spread out in front of her, Maya was sticking to her story. Help me understand, Detective Rodriguez said, opening the notebook. How does 3 weeks of surveillance constitute helping someone? Maya's composure flickered. I needed to document her patterns. To show the family how serious her problem was getting. What problem, specifically? Her eating disorder. Her substance abuse. She's been hiding it from everyone. Maya's voice grew stronger, like she was convincing herself as much as the detective. I found evidence in her apartment. Evidence that you planted. Evidence that I discovered, Maya corrected firmly. I was worried about her, so I checked on her apartment when she wasn't there. That's when I found the bottles and pills. The lie was so smooth, so practiced, that for a split second I almost doubted my own memory. But then I remembered Tyler's confession about the staged photos, and my anger flared again. Maya was still trying to manipulate everyone, even from an interrogation room in handcuffs. Detective Rodriguez slid a printed sheet across the table to Maya. These are your phone records from the past month. 47 calls to Tyler Brennan, most lasting over 20 minutes. What were you discussing during these conversations? Maya's eyes darted across the page, and I could see her mind racing. We were talking about my cousin's condition. Tyler has medical training, so I was asking for advice. Medical training? Detective Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. Mr. Brennan is a pharmacy technician, not a doctor. And according to his statement, you were asking very specific questions about controlled substances. I needed to understand what she might be taking, Maya insisted. If I was going to help her, I had to know what I was dealing with. The detective opened another file. Let's talk about your internet search history, Maya. Our tech team pulled this from your laptop an hour ago. Maya went rigid as Detective Rodriguez read from the printout, asterisk how much flunitrazepam is fatal. Flunitrazepam detection time in blood. Can flunitrazepam cause permanent damage? How to make flunitrazepam look like accidental overdose, asterisk. Those searches were research, Maya stammered. I was trying to understand if my cousin was already using these substances. Maya, you searched asterisk where to buy flunitrazepam without prescription asterisk at 2:17 a.m. on March 20th. 3 weeks before your cousin's graduation. How does that fit with your story about discovering her alleged substance abuse? The color drained from Maya's face. She hadn't expected them to pull her search history so quickly. I was being proactive. I thought if I understood what was available, I could better recognize the warning signs. Detective Rodriguez slid another paper across the table. This is your credit card statement. March 23rd, you purchased a burner phone from a gas station on Highway 12. Why did you need an untraceable phone, Maya? My blood went cold. Maya had bought a burner phone. This went deeper than I'd imagined. I don't know what you're talking about, Maya said, but her voice was shaking now. The burner phone you used to contact Marcus Webb, a known dealer who operates out of the university district. We have him in custody, Maya. He's already confirmed that someone matching your description purchased flunitrazepam from him on March 28th. Maya's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. That's impossible. I've never met anyone named Marcus Webb. Funny thing about burner phones, people think they're untraceable, but they still ping cell towers. Your regular phone and the burner phone were in the same locations at the same times for 5 days straight. Including the parking lot behind Romano's restaurant, where you met Marcus Webb. I felt sick. Maya hadn't just gotten information from Tyler, she'd actually bought the drugs from a street dealer. This wasn't a moment of jealous impulse. This was premeditated attempted murder. Marcus Webb told us something interesting, Detective Rodriguez continued. He said the woman who bought from him, that's you, Maya, specifically asked how much would put someone in the hospital but not kill them. She wanted what he called a teaching dose. Maya's lawyer, who had arrived 20 minutes earlier, finally spoke up. Detective, my client doesn't need to respond to these accusations. Actually, she does, Detective Rodriguez replied calmly. Because we also found text messages on the burner phone. Messages to 3 different people asking about my client's daily routines, her favorite drinks, her graduation party plans. My heart stopped. What 3 people? Detective Rodriguez looked through the glass toward me, her expression grim. Maya recruited accomplices. People who thought they were just helping her plan a surprise for you. Through the interrogation room speaker, I heard Maya's lawyer whisper urgently to her, but Maya shook her head violently. They don't understand, Maya said, looking directly at the one-way glass like she knew I was watching. She has everything. Perfect grades, medical school, everyone's respect. Do you know what it's like living in someone's shadow your entire life? Watching them succeed while you're barely surviving. Her voice was rising, becoming more unhinged. I wasn't trying to kill her. I just wanted her to know what failure felt like. What it was like to have your biggest moment ruined. By putting her in a coma? Detective Rodriguez asked. She wasn't supposed to drink the whole thing. Maya screamed. She was supposed to take a few sips and feel sick. Just sick enough to ruin her perfect day. The room fell silent except for Maya's heavy breathing. She had just confessed to everything on tape. But who were the 3 accomplices? Who else in my life had Maya turned against me? The names of Maya's accomplices hit me like physical blows. Jessica Martinez, David Chen, and Angela Rossetti, Detective Rodriguez read from the burner phone records. Maya contacted each of them separately, asking seemingly innocent questions about your routine. Jessica. My roommate Jessica, who had been so quick to screenshot Maya's deleted Instagram posts. David, my study partner from organic chemistry. Angela, my lab partner who knew my schedule better than anyone. That's impossible, I whispered, pressing my face closer to the one-way glass. Jessica was the one who warned me about Maya's posts. She's been helping me. Detective Rodriguez's voice crackled through the intercom. Maya, let's talk about your messages to Jessica Martinez. March 25th, 11:47 p.m. Hey girl. Planning a surprise celebration for my cousin's graduation. What time does she usually get home from the library? Maya's lawyer was frantically taking notes, but Maya seemed beyond caring about legal strategy now. Jessica didn't know what I was really planning. None of them did. I told them I was organizing a surprise party. March 26th, 2:15 a.m. to David Chen, want to help surprise my cousin after graduation. What's her favorite drink when you guys study together? Detective Rodriguez continued reading. David responded, she always gets orange juice with her coffee. Says the vitamin C helps her focus. My study sessions with David flashed through my mind. All those times I'd mentioned preferring orange juice, never realizing someone was collecting intelligence about my habits. And Angela Rossetti, the detective said, pulling up more messages. March 29th, my cousin mentioned you guys have lab together. Does she ever seem stressed? Like, more than normal pre-med stress. Angela responded with a 3-paragraph message about how I'd been anxious about graduation and medical school interviews. Each revelation felt like another betrayal, even though I knew my friends had been manipulated. Maya had weaponized their genuine care for me. I needed details, Maya said, her voice eerily calm now. If I was going to stage an intervention, it had to look authentic. Like a real medical emergency caused by her existing problems. Intervention. Detective Rodriguez leaned forward. Maya, you purchased enough flunitrazepam to sedate a grown man for 8 hours. That's not intervention, that's attempted murder. She wasn't supposed to drink it all at once. Maya slammed her cuffed hands on the table. The plan was for her to feel dizzy during her graduation speech. Just dizzy enough to stumble, maybe slur a few words. Embarrass herself in front of everyone. My blood turned to ice. Maya hadn't just wanted to poison me at the party, she'd wanted me to collapse during the actual graduation ceremony, in front of hundreds of people and my professors. But she didn't drink anything during the ceremony, Detective Rodriguez observed. Because she's too perfect, Maya spat. She gave this flawless speech about perseverance and dedication, and everyone was crying and clapping. Even the dean shook her hand twice. Maya's voice turned bitter. So I had to move to plan A. The celebration toast. Where you used a much higher dose. I was frustrated. Maya's composure cracked completely. Do you understand what it's like watching someone float through life while you're drowning? She got into medical school. 3 medical schools. I couldn't even finish community college. So you decided to destroy her. I decided to humble her, Maya corrected. Just once, I wanted her to feel what I feel every single day. Worthless. Stupid. Like a disappointment. Detective Rodriguez slid crime scene photos across the table. Maya, your cousin's blood alcohol content was 0, but her flunitrazepam levels were consistent with someone who'd consumed nearly 3 milligrams. She stopped breathing twice in the ambulance. Maya stared at the photos, and for the first time, something that looked like genuine remorse flickered across her face. She stopped breathing. The paramedics had to use a manual resuscitator. Your cousin was clinically dead for 47 seconds. The interrogation room fell silent. Through the glass, I watched Maya's face cycle through shock, fear, and something that might have been guilt. But then her expression hardened again. That's not my fault, she said quietly. She must have taken something else. Something that interacted with what I gave her. Even faced with evidence that she'd nearly killed me, Maya was still trying to shift blame. Still insisting that somehow, this was my fault too. Detective Rodriguez gathered her files. Maya Castellanos, you're being charged with attempted murder in the first degree, aggravated assault, conspiracy, and trafficking in controlled substances. Your bail hearing is scheduled for tomorrow morning. As they led Maya away in shackles, she looked directly at the one-way glass one last time. I hope it was worth it, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the intercom. Being everyone's perfect little princess. I hope it was worth destroying your own family. But I wasn't the one who had destroyed our family. Maya had done that all by herself. The next morning brought a revelation that made everything 10 times worse. Detective Rodriguez called me at 7 a.m. while I was still in the hospital bed, waiting for my final discharge paperwork. We need to talk. Maya's lawyer is claiming she has evidence that you've been planning to frame her for months. My stomach dropped. What kind of evidence? Can you get to the station by 9 a.m.? There's something you need to see. An hour later, I was sitting across from Detective Rodriguez in the same conference room where I'd watched Maya's confession. She slid a manila folder across the table with a grim expression. Maya's defense attorney submitted this an hour ago, she said. It's a collection of screenshots, photos, and documents that supposedly prove you orchestrated this entire situation to destroy Maya's reputation. I opened the folder with shaking hands. The first page made my blood run cold. It was a screenshot of what appeared to be my laptop screen, showing a Google search history, how to make someone look guilty of poisoning, dated 2 weeks ago. Below that, planting evidence techniques, and asterisk, how to fake drug test results. Asterisk. This isn't real, I said immediately. I never searched for any of this. Keep looking, Detective Rodriguez said grimly. The next page showed what looked like text messages between me and an unknown number. Asterisk me, the graduation party is perfect timing. Everyone will believe she snapped from jealousy. Asterisk. Asterisk unknown, are you sure about this? Seems extreme. Asterisk. Asterisk me, Maya's been unstable for years. It'll be easy to convince people she finally lost it. Asterisk. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the papers. Detective, I swear to you, I never sent these messages. This is all fabricated. There's more. The third page showed photos that appeared to be taken in my apartment. But these weren't the staged photos Tyler had shown us yesterday. These looked like they were taken from inside my bedroom, showing what appeared to be a journal lying open on my desk. The journal entries, written in what looked like my handwriting, detailed a months-long plan to expose Maya's true nature to the family and make everyone see what she really is. Maya's lawyer claims you've been planning this frame-up since February, Detective Rodriguez explained. They say you somehow obtained pharmaceutical substances yourself, poisoned your own drink, and then blamed Maya to destroy her relationship with your family. I stared at the fake evidence in disbelief. But we have Maya's confession. We have her surveillance notebook. We have the burner phone records. Which they claim you orchestrated by manipulating Maya into a mental breakdown, Detective Rodriguez replied. They're arguing that Maya's confession was the result of psychological manipulation by someone she trusted. The scope of what Maya had prepared was staggering. Even after being arrested, even from a jail cell, she was still trying to destroy me. How is this even possible? I asked. When would Maya have had time to fabricate all this? Detective Rodriguez pulled out another file. That's what we're trying to figure out. The timestamps on some of these screenshots show they were created yesterday afternoon, while Maya was in custody. Which means she either prepared them in advance, or someone else is helping her, I finished. Exactly. Someone with access to photo editing software and enough technical skill to fake digital evidence. She paused. Someone who might have access to your apartment and personal belongings. My mind raced through the possibilities. Maya had my spare key, but she'd been in jail since yesterday afternoon. Who else could have gotten into my apartment? Who else would be motivated to help her? Then it hit me. Tyler Brennan. He never actually confessed to providing Maya with substances. He just admitted to giving her information. We're already looking into that, Detective Rodriguez confirmed. But there's something else. The unknown number in these fake text messages. It traces back to a prepaid phone purchased with cash yesterday evening. While Maya was in jail. While Maya was in jail, she confirmed. Someone bought that phone at 6:47 p.m. and immediately started creating a false text thread to support her story. I felt like the room was spinning. Maya had contingency plans even for getting arrested. She prepared a scorched earth defense that would destroy my credibility even if it couldn't save her. Detective, what does this mean for the case against Maya? Will these fake screenshots actually help her? Rodriguez shook her head. Not likely. We have too much physical evidence and witness testimony. But it does complicate things. Maya's lawyer is going to argue that you're a master manipulator who drove your unstable cousin to a breakdown, then exploited that breakdown to frame her for attempted murder. That's insane. That's criminal defense, she replied grimly. They're going to paint you as the real villain in this story. Someone so narcissistic and controlling that you'd poison yourself just to destroy a family member you saw as competition. The irony was suffocating. Maya had tried to poison me out of jealousy and resentment, and now she was accusing me of the exact same motivations. We need to figure out who's helping her, I said, studying the fake evidence again. These screenshots are too sophisticated for Maya to have created alone. Detective Rodriguez's phone buzzed with a text message. She read it quickly, and her expression darkened. That was the tech team, she said. They just found something interesting in Maya's email account. She's been corresponding with someone using the initial J for the past 3 weeks. Someone who had detailed information about your daily schedule and access to your apartment building. My heart sank as I realized who J had to be. Jessica. My roommate Jessica, who I trusted completely. Who had been so helpful in documenting Maya's suspicious social media posts. Jessica, who had a key to my apartment and knew every detail of my routine. Jessica, who had been playing both sides from the very beginning. The confrontation with Jessica happened in my hospital room 2 hours later. Detective Rodriguez had asked her to come in to help clarify some timeline details, and Jessica arrived looking genuinely concerned, carrying coffee and my favorite muffins from the campus bakery. How are you feeling? Jessica asked, settling into the visitor's chair. I brought you those blueberry muffins you love. Figured hospital food is probably terrible. Watching her act so caring while knowing what I now knew made my skin crawl. But Detective Rodriguez had coached me on how to handle this. Thanks, Jess. That's really thoughtful. I kept my voice neutral. The detective said you had more screenshots of Maya's deleted posts. Oh yeah, tons more. Jessica pulled out her phone eagerly. I've been documenting everything since yesterday. Maya's been posting and deleting stuff constantly. It's like she's having some kind of breakdown. Detective Rodriguez stepped forward from where she'd been quietly observing by the window. Jessica, can you show us exactly when you started screenshotting Maya's posts? Right after she posted that weird karma thing yesterday afternoon. Around 3:15 maybe. Jessica scrolled through her photo gallery. I thought it was suspicious timing, you know. That's interesting, the detective said, pulling out a printed timeline. Because according to your phone records, you started taking screenshots at 2:51 p.m. 14 minutes before Maya even posted anything. Jessica's hand froze on her phone screen. Maybe I remembered the time wrong. Everything was so chaotic yesterday. Or maybe you knew what Maya was going to post because you helped her write it, I said, watching Jessica's face carefully. That's crazy. Why would I help Maya do anything? I can't stand her. But Jessica's voice had gotten higher, more defensive. She's always been jealous of you. Detective Rodriguez sat down across from Jessica. We found the email correspondence, Jessica. 3 weeks of messages between you and Maya, planning what she called the intervention. The color drained from Jessica's face, but she tried to maintain her innocent expression. I don't know what emails you're talking about. Maya and I barely communicate. Really? I pulled out my phone and opened my email app. Because I just checked my sent folder, and there are dozens of emails to Maya from my account over the past month. Emails I never sent, discussing my problems and asking for her help. Jessica's eyes went wide. Someone must have hacked your account. Someone who knew my passwords, Detective Rodriguez added. Someone who lived with me and had seen me log in hundreds of times. The emails were sent from my laptop, I continued, but I was in the library during most of the timestamps. You were home alone with access to all my devices. Jessica stood up abruptly, knocking over her coffee cup. This is insane. I would never hurt you. You're my best friend. Best friends don't create fake evidence to destroy each other, Detective Rodriguez said, sliding the manila folder across the bed toward Jessica. Those screenshots of search histories, the fake text messages, the staged photos of the journal, our tech team traced the metadata. They were all created on a laptop registered to your student account. Jessica stared at the fake evidence she created, and I could see her mind racing, trying to find a way out. Maya paid you, didn't she? I asked quietly. How much was it worth to betray your roommate? You don't understand, Jessica whispered, sinking back into her chair. Maya said you'd be fine. She said it would just make you sick for a day, and then everyone would see that you're not as perfect as you pretend to be. There it was. The confession I'd been dreading. She said you needed to be humbled, Jessica continued, tears starting to flow. That you walked around campus acting like you were better than everyone else. That even I complained about living in your shadow. My heart broke a little. Jess, I never tried to make you feel that way. Really? You never noticed how everyone always compared us? How professors would ask me why I couldn't be more like my pre-med roommate? How guys would only talk to me to get closer to you? The resentment in her voice was eerily similar to Maya's. How had I been so blind to the jealousy of people I cared about? So when Maya approached you, Detective Rodriguez prompted. She said she had a plan to knock you down a peg. Make you look human for once. Jessica wiped her eyes with her sleeve. She said you'd feel sick during graduation, maybe throw up in front of everyone. Just embarrassing enough to remember that you're not invincible. Jessica, I could have died. That wasn't supposed to happen. Jessica's voice cracked. Maya promised it would just be embarrassing. When I heard you were in the hospital, I freaked out. That's why I started really documenting her posts. I thought maybe I could help fix things. Detective Rodriguez leaned forward. But then you created fake evidence to frame Maya when you realized how serious this was. I panicked, Jessica admitted. I knew if Maya went down, she'd take me with her. So I tried to make it look like you had orchestrated everything. Like you were the manipulative one, not us. Even in her confession, Jessica was still trying to shift blame. Still trying to make me the villain in her story. Jessica Martinez, Detective Rodriguez said, standing up, you're under arrest as an accessory to attempted murder and for tampering with evidence. As they led Jessica away in handcuffs, she looked back at me one last time. I really am sorry, she said. But you have to understand, it's exhausting being your friend sometimes. I watched my roommate, my confidant, my study partner disappear down the hospital corridor, and realized that Maya's poison had spread much further than just my bloodstream. She'd poisoned everyone around me against me, and I'd never even seen it happening. The bail hearing the next morning was a circus. Maya's parents had hired an expensive defense attorney who strutted into the courtroom like he was defending an innocent victim rather than someone who tried to kill me. Your Honor, Attorney Richardson proclaimed, my client Maya Castellanos is the real victim here. She's been systematically manipulated by a narcissistic family member who orchestrated this entire scenario to destroy her reputation. I sat in the gallery between my parents, watching Maya at the defendant's table. She'd somehow managed to look fragile and sympathetic in her orange jumpsuit, dabbing at her eyes with tissues her lawyer provided. The prosecution wants this court to believe that my client spent weeks planning an elaborate poisoning scheme, Richardson continued. But the evidence clearly shows that Maya was responding to genuine concerns about her cousin's deteriorating mental health. Judge Martinez looked unimpressed. Counselor, your client purchased illegal substances and administered them without consent. How exactly does that constitute a mental health intervention? Maya believed she was preventing a tragedy, Your Honor. The fake evidence planted by the alleged victim shows a pattern of manipulation and self-destructive behavior that... Objection, Assistant District Attorney Chin interrupted. The defense is referencing fabricated materials that were created by the defendant's accomplice after the crime occurred. Sustained. Mr. Richardson, stick to established facts. But Richardson wasn't finished. Your Honor, we have new evidence that fundamentally changes the nature of this case. My stomach dropped. What new evidence could they possibly have? Richardson's paralegal wheeled in a cart stacked with file boxes. Yesterday evening, we obtained security footage from 3 different locations that show the alleged victim engaging in suspicious behavior throughout the week leading up to her graduation. He clicked a remote, and a large screen descended from the ceiling. Grainy security footage began playing, showing what appeared to be me entering a building I didn't recognize. This footage is from March 29, 11:47 p.m., Richardson narrated. Here we see the alleged victim entering an apartment building on the east side of town. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. The person in the footage was wearing my purple North Face jacket and had my general build, but something felt off about the way they moved. The significance, Your Honor, is that this building houses Marcus Webb, the dealer who allegedly sold controlled substances to my client. But as this footage clearly shows, it wasn't Maya making contact with drug dealers. The courtroom erupted in whispers. I grabbed Dad's arm, my hands shaking. That's not me, I whispered urgently. I've never been to that building in my life. On screen, the figure turned slightly, and I could see why Richardson was so confident. The person had my hair color and was wearing my distinctive jacket, the one with the small rip in the left sleeve from when I'd caught it on a fence last semester. Your Honor, ADH and stood up, the prosecution needs time to examine this alleged evidence. These security cameras could easily have been tampered with. Furthermore, Richardson continued, clearly enjoying his moment, we have witness testimony that places the alleged victim in contact with Marcus Webb on 3 separate occasions. He called his first witness, a woman named Sandra Torres who claimed to have seen me meeting with a sketchy guy behind Romano's restaurant twice in the past month. Her description was detailed enough to be convincing, my height, my car, even my habit of checking my phone constantly during conversations. But I knew with absolute certainty that I'd never met Marcus Webb, never been to that apartment building, never had any contact with drug dealers of any kind. Which meant someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to impersonate me. Your Honor, Richardson concluded, my client Maya Castellanos was manipulated by a master manipulator who has been planning this frame-up for weeks. We request that all charges be dropped and that the court instead investigate the real perpetrator of this hoax. Judge Martinez called a 30-minute recess, and I found myself in the hallway feeling like the world had turned upside down. Someone had been impersonating me, wearing my clothes, building a false case against me while Maya was building her real case against herself. This is insane, Mom said, pacing back and forth. Who would go to these lengths? And how did they get your jacket? That's when it hit me. The jacket had gone missing from my apartment 2 weeks ago. I'd assumed I'd left it somewhere on campus, but what if someone had taken it specifically for this purpose? Someone who knew my schedule well enough to know when I'd be in the library with an alibi. Someone with access to my apartment and my personal belongings. Someone who'd been planning this frame-up as insurance against Maya's plan falling apart. ADH approached us with a grim expression. We need to talk. I think Maya's accomplice network is bigger than we realized. The revelation came from an unexpected source, campus security footage that ADHN's team had requested from the university. We pulled surveillance from every camera on campus for the past month, Chen explained as we huddled in a conference room during the recess. Look at this. The footage showed me leaving the library at 9:15 p.m. on March 29th, the exact same time Richardson's mystery footage showed someone in my jacket entering Marcus Webb's building across town. It was physically impossible for me to be in both places. So we know someone was impersonating you, Chen continued. But watch this next clip. The screen switched to footage from the campus parking garage, timestamped 8:47 p.m. the same night. I watched myself walk to my car, unlock it, and drive away. But then, 23 minutes later, another figure approached the same parking spot where my car had been. The second person was wearing different clothes but moved with an identical gait. They looked around carefully, then pulled out what appeared to be car keys and seemed frustrated when the space was empty. Someone expected your car to still be there, Mom realized. Like they had planned to use it. Detective Rodriguez joined us, carrying a new file. We just arrested suspect number 3. Angela Rossetti, your former lab partner. My heart sank. Angela, who I'd trusted with my lab results and study schedules. Angela, who knew my parking habits and class schedule better than almost anyone. Angela confessed about 20 minutes ago, Rodriguez continued. Apparently, Maya recruited her 3 weeks ago with the same story she used on Jessica, that you needed to be humbled for everyone's good. What was Angela's role? Intelligence gathering, mostly. She reported your daily routines, your stress levels, when you'd be alone in the lab. Rodriguez flipped through her notes. But Angela also admitted to taking your jacket from the chemistry building 2 weeks ago. She gave it to someone else for what she thought was just going to be a harmless prank. Someone else. Dad leaned forward. How many people were involved in this? We're still piecing that together. But Angela gave us a name, David Chin, your study partner. Apparently, Maya convinced him that you'd been talking behind his back, saying he was only getting good grades because he copied your work. The betrayal kept expanding like ripples in a pond. David, who I'd spent countless hours tutoring in organic chemistry. David, who'd seemed so supportive when I got my medical school acceptances. David was the one wearing your jacket in the security footage, Rodriguez explained. Maya needed someone approximately your height and build to establish the fake connection with Marcus Webb. David thought he was just helping to play a harmless prank, wearing your jacket to confuse some security cameras as part of what Maya called a senior week scavenger hunt. A scavenger hunt? I felt sick. Maya told each accomplice a different story. Jessica thought she was helping with a minor embarrassment prank. Angela thought she was gathering information for an intervention. David thought he was participating in a graduation week game. Rodriguez shook her head. Maya managed to convince 4 different people to betray you, and none of them realized they were part of an attempted murder plot. ADA was taking rapid notes. This actually helps our case significantly. We can show the jury that Maya was sophisticated enough to manipulate multiple people into creating false evidence and alibis. What about Tyler Brennan? I asked. Tyler's cooperating fully now. He admitted that Maya seduced him back into a relationship specifically to get access to pharmaceutical information. She made him believe they had a future together while she was planning to destroy me and frame you. I thought about Maya sitting in her cell, probably still convinced that she was the victim in all this. She'd managed to turn 5 people who cared about me into weapons against me, all while maintaining her image as the concerned family member. There's one more thing, Rodriguez said grimly. We found Maya's real plan in her apartment this morning. The notebook we found in her car was just her surveillance log. Her actual plan was far more extensive. She slid a photocopy across the table, and I felt the blood drain from my face as I read Maya's neat handwriting. Phase 1, graduation incident. Phase 2, medical school sabotage. Phase 3, complete family alienation. Maya hadn't just wanted to ruin my graduation day. She'd been planning to destroy my entire future, piece by piece, until I had nothing left. But now, finally, everyone could see exactly who Maya really was. The trial began 3 months later, and Maya had somehow managed to convince herself she was the hero of this story. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, her defense attorney proclaimed during opening statements, my client Maya Castellanos is guilty of only one crime, caring too much about her cousin's well-being. I sat in the front row behind the prosecution table, watching Maya dab at her eyes with a tissue. She'd lost weight in jail and wore a conservative navy dress that made her look younger, more vulnerable. Even knowing everything she'd done, I could see how a jury might be swayed by her performance. The prosecution wants you to believe that Maya spent weeks orchestrating an elaborate poisoning scheme, Richardson continued. But the evidence will show that Maya was actually trying to prevent her cousin from seriously harming herself with dangerous substances. ADA Chen had warned me that Maya's defense strategy would be aggressive victim blaming, but hearing it spoken aloud in a courtroom still felt like being punched in the stomach. You'll hear testimony that the alleged victim had been exhibiting erratic behavior for months, extreme weight loss, mood swings, secretive meetings with known drug dealers. Maya's only crime was trying to stage an intervention to save her cousin's life. When it was the prosecution's turn, ADA Chen methodically laid out the real timeline. Maya's internet search history spanning back 2 months, how much sedative causes unconsciousness, undetectable ways to drug someone, how to make poisoning look accidental. The burner phone records showing coordination with 5 different accomplices. The notebook detailing my daily routines with the precision of a stalker. This was not a concerned family member trying to help, Chen told the jury. This was a calculated attempt at murder, disguised as intervention. The first week of testimony was brutal. Tyler Brennan took the stand looking like he'd aged 5 years in 3 months, his voice barely audible as he described how Maya had manipulated him into providing pharmaceutical information. She told me her cousin was secretly using dangerous substances, he testified. Said she'd found evidence in her apartment. I thought I was helping prevent a suicide. Richardson pounced during cross-examination. Mr. Brennan, did Maya ever explicitly ask you to provide her with controlled substances? No, sir. She just asked theoretical questions about dosages and effects. And you voluntarily provided detailed information about flunitrazepam without any coercion? Tyler's voice cracked. Yes, sir. In fact, you were so eager to help Maya that you researched specific details about how the substance could be administered without detection, correct? I thought. Just yes or no, Mr. Brennan. Yes. I watched the jury's faces during Tyler's testimony, and my heart sank. Richardson was successfully painting him as an overeager accomplice who provided dangerous information willingly. Jessica's testimony was even worse. She'd clearly been coached by Maya's defense team and stuck to her story that she'd only been trying to help document my alleged self-destructive behavior. Maya showed me concerning text messages, Jessica testified. Messages where her cousin talked about wanting to disappear and feeling like everyone would be better off without her. And did you personally witness any of this alleged self-destructive behavior? ADA Chen asked during redirect. I saw her throwing up after meals sometimes, Jessica replied. And she was always exhausted, always stressed. I wanted to scream. Jessica was describing normal pre-med student behavior, the stress, the irregular eating, the exhaustion from studying 18 hours a day. But to a jury, it might sound like evidence of serious problems. The prosecution's case got stronger when Angela Rossetti testified about Maya's recruitment techniques. Angela had refused a plea deal and was facing charges of her own, which made her testimony more credible. Maya told me that her cousin was heading for a complete breakdown, Angela said. She showed me photos of pill bottles and empty alcohol containers that she claimed to have found in her cousin's apartment. Did these photos concern you? Chen asked. Yes, but they also seemed staged somehow. Like someone had arranged the item specifically for the camera. Richardson objected repeatedly, but Angela continued. Maya kept pushing for more and more detailed information about her cousin's schedule and habits. It started feeling less like concern and more like surveillance. What made you finally realize something was wrong? Angela looked directly at me, her eyes filled with remorse. When I heard she'd been hospitalized. Maya's reaction wasn't relief or concern, it was excitement. Like she'd won something. The courtroom fell silent. Even Maya's fake tears stopped for a moment. But I knew the hardest part was still coming, my own testimony, where Richardson would try to destroy my credibility in front of 12 strangers who would decide Maya's fate. And ultimately, mine. Taking the stand was the most terrifying moment of my life, but I was ready. 3 months of preparation, therapy, and watching Maya's web of lies unravel had given me clarity. Please state your name for the record, ADA Chen began. Sarah Elizabeth Morrison. Sarah, can you tell the jury what happened on your graduation day? I looked directly at the jury, keeping my voice steady. My cousin Maya Castellanos drugged my celebratory drink with flunitrazepam, causing me to collapse and nearly die at what should have been the happiest day of my life. Richardson's cross-examination was vicious, as expected. He spent 2 hours trying to paint me as a manipulative narcissist who'd orchestrated everything to destroy Maya. But I'd learned something important during my recovery: the truth has a weight that lies can never match. Ms. Morrison, isn't it true that you resented Maya's close relationship with your parents? No, sir. I was grateful my parents helped Maya when she needed support. Yet you've systematically turned your entire family against her. No, sir. Maya's own actions did that when she tried to murder me. The breakthrough came during Dr. Martinez's testimony about my toxicology results. She explained that the amount of flunitrazepam in my system was precisely measured, 2.7 milligrams, administered in a single dose. Dr. Chen asked, in your medical opinion, was this dosage accidental? Absolutely not. This represents a calculated amount designed to cause unconsciousness lasting 6 to 8 hours. Someone with pharmaceutical knowledge determined this exact dosage. Richardson tried to suggest I'd somehow administered it to myself, but Dr. Martinez shut that down immediately. Impossible. The concentration pattern in her bloodstream shows a single ingestion event. You cannot accidentally consume 2.7 milligrams of flunitrazepam. This was deliberate poisoning. The final nail came when Detective Rodriguez presented Maya's 3-phase plan found in her apartment. Phase 2 detailed plans to sabotage my medical school applications by impersonating me in emails to admissions committees. Phase 3 involved spreading rumors about my alleged substance abuse to extended family members. This wasn't a moment of jealous rage, Rodriguez testified. This was a systematic campaign to destroy the victim's entire life. During deliberations, I sat in the courthouse cafeteria with my parents, finally understanding the full scope of what Maya had orchestrated. She'd spent months poisoning not just my drink, but every relationship I valued. The jury returned after only 4 hours. Has the jury reached a verdict? Judge Martinez asked. We have, Your Honor. In the matter of the state versus Maya Castellanos, on the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon? Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit assault? Guilty. Maya's face crumpled as the guilty verdicts continued. Tampering with evidence. Solicitation of controlled substances. 6 felony convictions that would put her in prison for 12 to 15 years. During sentencing 2 weeks later, I finally got to deliver my victim impact statement. Maya didn't just try to poison my body, I told the court. She poisoned my relationships, my trust, my sense of safety in the world. She turned people I loved into weapons against me. But she failed, because the truth is stronger than any lie, and love is stronger than jealousy. Judge Martinez sentenced Maya to 14 years in state prison without possibility of parole for 8 years. As they led Maya away in shackles, she looked back at me one final time. Not with hatred anymore, but with something that looked almost like understanding. Maybe she finally realized what she'd thrown away, not just her freedom, but a family who would have loved and supported her if she'd let them. I started medical school that fall with a new perspective on healing. Some injuries are visible, others hidden. But recovery is always possible when you're surrounded by people who choose love over resentment. Maya made her choice. I made mine. The hospital confirmed it, the jury confirmed it, and now everyone knew the truth. My cousin had drugged me at my own graduation, but I survived to tell the story.